The Ice Age Adventure, a journey into a frozen world. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between snow-capped mountains, there lived a young boy named Max. Max was fascinated by the wonders of the natural world, especially the Ice Age. He had a deep love for prehistoric creatures like mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and sloths. His favorite movie was Ice Age, the story of Manny the mammoth, Sid the sloth, and Diego the saber-toothed tiger. Max watched the film over and over, dreaming of the frozen world where these animals roamed. One snowy afternoon, as the wind howled outside, Max settled on the couch in his cozy living room, blanket draped over his shoulders, ready to watch his favorite movie once more. He loved the icy landscapes, the wild adventures, and the funny antics of the characters. But that day, something extraordinary happened. As the opening scene of Ice Age began, something strange occurred. Max noticed the room around him start to shimmer, as if the very air was turning to ice. He rubbed his eyes, thinking it was just the reflection of the TV screen, but when he looked up, the walls of his room seemed to melt away, replaced by towering glaciers and frozen caverns. The TV flickered, and suddenly a blinding flash of light enveloped Max. Before he could even gasp, Max found himself standing in the middle of an icy tundra. The cold wind whipped around him, and he saw snow swirling through the air. He looked down at his feet and realized he was no longer in his living room, but in the very world of Ice Age. Max blinked, unsure of what was happening. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. Then, out of nowhere, he heard a loud rumble and looked up to see a giant mammoth lumbering toward him. It was Manny, the mammoth from the movie. Manny stopped in front of Max, his large tusks gleaming in the cold sunlight. "Well, hello there," Manny said in his deep, gravelly voice. "You look lost, kid. You don't belong here, do you?" Max's eyes widened in disbelief. I don't know. I was just watching Ice Age, and then poof, I'm here. How did I get here?" Manny chuckled. "We don't know how the world of the living and the world of the screen mix, but it happens sometimes. You might have a bit of an adventure ahead of you." Max wasn't sure whether to be excited or terrified, but before he could say anything more, a voice called from behind them. "Manny, who's your new friend?" It was Sid, the goofy sloth. He came bounding over, tripping on his own feet, but smiling wide as usual. "This is Max," Manny explained. "He's from a different world, and I think he needs help getting back home." Sid scratched his head. "You mean you're not a mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger? Weird. Well, come along, kid. We could use all the help we can get." Max hesitated, but then smiled. He had always wanted to visit the Ice Age world, and here he was, standing in it. "I'm not sure how I can help, but I'll try." The trio set off on their journey. As they traveled, Max marveled at the frozen beauty around him. Giant glaciers loomed overhead, and icy rivers stretched as far as the eye could see. They passed through ancient forests filled with frozen trees, and Max could almost imagine the sounds of prehistoric creatures in the distance. But as they moved further into the land, the weather grew colder. Dark clouds began to form overhead, and the wind picked up, howling through the frozen landscape. Sid looked up nervously. "Uh-oh, I think we're in for some trouble." Manny's eyes narrowed. "That's not just any storm, that's the blizzard of the ages. If we don't reach shelter soon, we'll be stuck here until the storm passes. We'll never make it back to the warmth of the valley." Max felt a chill run down his spine. He had no idea how he was supposed to get back home, and the thought of being stuck in this frozen world was starting to feel real. "But how do we escape the blizzard?" Max asked, panic creeping into his voice. Together they navigate the freezing landscapes, confront a fierce blizzard, and search for a way to get Max home, learning the importance of friendship and courage along the way. "We need to find the Great Ice Cave," Manny said, his voice firm. "It's the only place where we can be safe." "Follow me," Sid said, grinning. "I know a shortcut." They raced through the snow, the wind whipping against their faces as the blizzard began to howl louder. The snow was falling in thick sheets, and the ground beneath them became slick with ice. Max struggled to keep up, but he was determined to help. He didn't want to be stuck here forever. After what felt like hours, they finally reached the entrance to the great ice cave. It was a massive cavern carved into the side of a mountain, its entrance framed by enormous ice stalactites. They hurried inside, shaking off the snow that clung to their fur and clothes. Inside the cave it was warm, and Max let out a relieved sigh, but their journey was far from over. Sid hurried to the center of the cave and pulled out a small stone. He grinned and handed it to Max. "Here, kid, this is the ice stone. It's the only thing that can send you back to your world, but you'll have to do something special to activate it." Max took the stone, feeling its cold surface against his palm. "What do I have to do?" Manny stepped forward. "You need to focus on what you want most. You need to believe that you can return home, and the magic of the ice stone will do the rest." Max looked at the stone in his hand, his heart pounding in his chest. He closed his eyes, thinking about his home, his family, and everything he loved about his world. Slowly, he felt the warmth of hope spreading from the stone, and with a deep breath, he whispered, "I want to go home." A bright light suddenly erupted from the stone, filling the cave with a brilliant glow. The light swirled around Max, and the world of Ice Age began to fade away. The snow, the cold, the towering mammoths, and the deep blue skies all disappeared, replaced by the familiar sights of his living room. Max blinked and found himself back on his couch, the Ice Age movie still playing on the screen. He looked around, unsure if it had all been a dream, but when he looked down at his hand, he saw the ice stone. It was warm and glowing faintly, reminding him of the adventure he had just experienced. Max smiled to himself. He would never forget his journey to the Ice Age world, and he would always know that with a little bit of magic, anything was possible.